your chapeau.
I know you're wearing my chapeau.
Let's talk about it. So,
yeah.
My thought was, one of our potential topics of conversation we were throwing around is, when do things get too serious?
Yeah.
And it's just not that serious, guys, overall. So
Yeah, have fun.
just have fun. That's what the bucket symbolizes today.
I like it.
So I'm gonna wear it the whole time, or if it starts getting itchy or something, then I'll take
It
it
won't.
off. It won't. Okay, good. Talk about the bucket. What's up with the bucket?
Well, it's a bone of contention.
Really? I don't know the story of this helmet.
No,
so.
the story of the helmet is okay. So, what are you laughing at? Because it's my you know how I rebel against life. If you tell me what to do, I will not do it, or I'll try to.
Oh, I think I do know the story.
Yeah. So
I know where you're going with it.
obviously, I was running my business, and then it was I was doing some. This is when I was building my business, so I was doing some stuff for some youth organizations, right? So some of the youth organizations say you have to have a helmet. What?
So obviously, we know what the story is going
Yeah.
now.
So I'm so I fought it first. I said, listen, man, I'm not going to do your practices if I have to wear a helmet. Now, I know there's going to be a segment of people out there go, just wear a helmet. It's safe and all that, but you're talking to me.
Yeah.
And I don't fall. What? What are you laughing at, man? Can I say I'm not going to hurt myself?
Well, yeah, but you could hurt
I don't
yourself.
care. This is my point. I don't care.
Right.
So I don't fall. And if I do, it's like if someone slipped a puck under me. They could say, well, you could save your life. Just mind your own business. That's how I feel about that. Mind your own business. It's my head. No. Listen, dude, I'm not trying to be a clown. You are. Look at you. I feel the same way about seatbelts.
I get it.
Right?
I get what you're saying.
You need, and I wear my seatbelt, so just everyone's happy. But it's like you need to.
So
if you tell me to wear my seatbelt, it's my life.
So everyone's happy.
Yeah. So when I go on the ice, I don't want to wear a helmet. I think it looks amateur, and all that shit. So when the organizations, I fought it, and I was like, I have my own business, I have my own insurance, don't need to wear a helmet, and they said, well, you have to go on our ice. So I said, and I was already committed, or else I would have just not done it. I know a lot of people would say, you wouldn't make money just to wear a helmet. Yeah, that's right. I don't
die on that hill.
It's just I don't want to wear a freaking helmet. Okay, so sorry. Or jeans on the ice. I don't want to look like I'm a guy that just got his level 1 certificate in teaching hockey.
So right. So is there so this is maybe a fair point to defend you.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like there's an element of the professionalism piece to
100%.
it? It's it just feels like
100%.
if you show up, everyone's wearing a suit and you're wearing your work boots or something, you just feel like you're out of place kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't think I'm old school, right?
Yeah.
Not going to say that's
true.
smart. I'm old school, 100% old school, and I know how to skate. I'm very good at what I do. I don't need a helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And people could say whatever they want. I really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So when the organizations that I was already committed to, I wasn't going to, I do have some integrity, so I was going to finish out my skating or my programs with them. So I said, okay, you want to get a helmet? And I had my old Jaffa that busted apart. So I went to, and it's a little kid's, that the one that you're wearing, I just designed it better. It's a little kid's, it's for kids when they go roller skating and stuff. It's about, the helmet's actually about this big. Eh?
Right.
So I stretched her out and I said, you want me to wear a helmet? This is what you're getting, guys. It's a helmet. So, and they did have issue. They said that's not Canadian safety standard. And I'm like, it's a helmet, man. I couldn't go on the ice I can, but I wasn't going on the ice teaching. Okay, think about it. Okay, I'm teaching Aaron Ekblad and Steve Ott and Mike Weber and whoever else. They play in the NHL, and I'm wearing a helmet, right?
I get it. Yeah.
And I have a knob on my stick the size of this microphone, and I look like I came out of,
right?
The level 1 hockey.
Some
Canada
people won't.
certificate,
Some people won't get what you're saying.
So, anyways,
that's
right. So anyways, I'm not gonna fall and I don't care. So I got that as a joke, as a screw you.
Yeah.
You want me to wear a helmet? Here's your helmet.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, so I explained my
I
life.
like it.
People may think whatever you want. I actually don't care.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
Because things aren't that serious.
But dude, if you are gonna wear a helmet,
yeah,
just to get serious about this now.
Yeah.
If you are gonna wear a helmet, that's a helmet to wear.
I like
Doesn't
it.
feel like anything.
I know.
Yeah.
So a part of me is kind of like knowing how the stupidity in which this looks on my head.
Yeah.
I just kind of like it. I like it. Things
Great.
don't have
Looks
to be
great
serious.
on you.
So
looks great on you. You should wear it all the time. I'm not. See, you think I'm joking, right? I think you should wear it all the time. All the time.
That's funny.
I think it's a good look. I'm just being honest.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna keep it on. So, okay, I have a thing to talk about. So I was sent from another a parent an article, and this was from Martin St. Now, for people who don't know, he coaches the Montreal Canadiens, and he was actually kind of in his prime when I was growing up with Tampa Bay, and what a guy to watch, man. One of these I don't know if underdog's the right word. I don't really know.
Yeah, say underdog because number one, he's 5'3".
Right. Yeah.
Right? No, he's probably 5'7". I think that's being generous. 5'7", you're an underdog in hockey.
Yeah.
Especially if you go back to the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah. And so like
tough game for you.
So let's little back. I think you probably know more about him than I do. Like what's the reputation that he has like in the hockey space? Is he like workhorse guy? Is he like super detail oriented as a coach? Like, do you know anything about him from like a philosophy perspective and how he coaches Montreal or his reputation when he played? Because I can't really. I was a little bit young, but I just remember him.
Well, I could tell you what I know or what I think I know as a player. I know that he went to Vermont, University of Vermont, and I think he just performed. You know what I mean? I think he was always like, and I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly what his stats were and stuff, right here. He for sure did very well in at the University of Vermont, and I believe he got drafted to Calgary, or he got invited to Calgary. I think he started off in Calgary.
Yep.
And then, yeah,
Calgary,
am I right?
Yeah, Calgary to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's to Tampa Bay. That's where he came. Anyways, that's just looking up stats. The reputation or I think what I know of him is that he was just like extremely hard worker, right? Like detailed. You asked about detailed, yeah, 100%. He was a student of the game, competitive, and that's impossible to be his size and not be a super competitive, right? And then obviously very smart and a student of the game to anyways, what you got a thought?
No, well, and I believe like his reputation, I think as a coach now, I could be wrong, is just like kind of players coach kind of guy. Like a little bit Rod Brindamore-ish.
Yeah, that's a good
in terms of the reputation.
I think
that's what my perception
from
is
what you hear and what you see is I think you don't really hide that, right? He's a very open to the players, very like wants to teach them. He holds them accountable, obviously, but I think he's a real players coach and teaches and wants the players to be their absolute best. Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Okay, so basically this article,
honest guy, right?
Yeah,
just seems honest.
That's my perception of
him. Yeah, honest also. Player, honest, like, yeah.
So, this article is kind of, what's the term? Quoting him. It's a lot of his perspectives on what he sees in players that come to him. So I haven't actually read through. I've skimmed through the article, but I haven't read through it in detail. So I'm just gonna kind of skim through it a little bit to talk about like some of the main points. It's not it's not super long, so I don't know if maybe I'll sift through it a little bit and we'll see what happens. So, anyways, the title of the article, in case anyone cares to look it up, is "When Individual Hockey Skills Become an Epidemic." Okay, when individual hockey skills become an epidemic is the title of the article. So, just going to the article now, reading. Martin St. Louis often repeated during the Canadian season that his best young players, whether Cole Caulfield, Uri Slafkovsky, or Alex Newhook, were still learning how to play the game. So that's a quote that he's taken from Martin St. Louis. They're still learning how to play the game. The most skilled players on the team are easy to identify, but in Montreal as elsewhere, we are increasingly observing a gap between the high degree of skill with which young players arrive and their understanding of the team game. I think it's an epidemic, St. Louis told us during the CH's visit to Carolina in March. All young players are excellent with the puck, but all their development is done with static things, with things that don't move. There's a lack of reading the game, added St. Louis. There's a lot of emphasis on the puck, but the game is played without the puck. Skill development is very important at a young age, but you better evolve, and as you get older, stop doing drills with static things because it's not real. So that's kind of, I guess I'll stop there for the first little piece of it. Yeah, it's kind of stuff we talk about all the time. So go ahead, thoughts on that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, this is the essence of what we talk about in this place every single day. Okay, so I'm going to use an example. And this player goes to a lot of different skills instructors, right? And he has a horrible habit of turning his head the wrong way when he's stick handling, like returning. What's disappointing about a lot of the skills coaches is that, and apparently he's been to some really high end ones, apparently like whatever high end means. And this person, if he's turning right, he keeps his head left, and he's going. So that means he has no idea what's in front of him. It's a habit, right? And we've been on him all the time. And then my kid was on the ice too, and I took him aside and I said, "You're going to just work on this over and over till your head is turned the right way." I said, "Because you're going to get killed." And then my kid told him that too. He goes like, "I'm telling you right now, if you don't listen, you are going to get killed on the ice." So that's general skills, right? You got to be able to identify like at least the basics. So in this instance, this person has been doing a lot of skill development, but when body contact, but even it would hurt him now because your vision is limited, or he could just bump into someone even though there's not contact yet. But when there's contact, if this doesn't get fixed, it's gonna be horrible. So the point of that, me saying that, is that there's a lot of obviously skill work done out there. There's a lot, and the emphasis, and it's good. I mean, here's the thing. I'm just gonna back it up a little bit. Here's the thing. A lot of times we talk on our podcast. It's like just recently we were talking about taking time off in the summertime and not working out so hard. And then the response, like what a lot of comments are, well, oh, you're just saying take the summer off? Well, so not from doing it's not do nothing. That's not what we're saying. You know, like honestly, I don't know why we have to explain that, but it's like intelligently do it. Yes, go on and work some if you want to, like be reasonable, go on the ice and work on your weaknesses once a week. If you really feel like you need to touch the puck or pick one or two things that you need to do, it doesn't have to be crazy is all we're saying in the competition. So anyways, there is a total epidemic, and that's a really good word. It's an epidemic of individual skills out there. And I see it every single freaking day is guys look really good in practice. And when you get into the game, they can do nothing. Like absolutely nothing. They're no good at hockey. And that's what I think the biggest battle with players or for coaches right now is to get the eye out of like not to be an individual, and the kids that understand and grow up that it's about the team. Like Craig Berube said it perfectly, and I know a lot of people just hear the words but don't really understand. They were talking about the core four in Toronto. I hate using that term, by the way, but the four big guys in Toronto. How's he going to work with them? And he basically said it's not about those guys. It's about the team. He goes, everyone has a role, everybody has a job to do, and you have to do it. So, anyways, it gets very tiring to have to continue to tell people, convince people, and explain to people that you're a lot of the things that you're doing, you're wasting your time on. You have to learn how to play as a team. You have to learn how to play without the puck. You have to learn to actually not handle the puck so much. My son and I were doing something today, and he was showing me how a thing that he was working on for one-on-one moves. So typically people like to have really stick out the puck and like have these amazing moves. And he was showing me something, and I said, I love it because you're not hardly handling the puck. You're just moving it to space. It doesn't have to look so incredibly great. Right?
Yeah. Just two thoughts on that. I remember kind of identifying this when I used to skate with you in the summertime because you'd have all the big guys out there and we go to skate, and you can't really tell the difference in drills between, let's say, Aaron Ekblad and ECHL player.
Right. They're all pretty good.
So if we did, hey, let's race from here to there, a guy from the East Coast might win. If we say, hey, let's line up and see who has the hardest shot, a guy from the East Coast might win. If we see who has the best dangles, someone from the East Coast might win. They might
Someone
be better.
from junior might.
Yeah, in isolation, they might be better at that skill than the guy that's in the NHL. And that's something that people should think of, like, okay, so what does that mean? What is the difference between the guy that can't get out of the East Coast as a minor pro versus a guy that is solidified in the NHL? What's the difference, right? The difference doesn't end up being their individual skill set. That's never what it is. Because you would say, you're the first person that would say you could find 100 guys that are a better skater than Aaron Ekblad, maybe more, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So what is the reason that he is a solidified NHL player, right?
And I got to just interrupt that. You know what I'm proud of him for? And I was just talking to him the other day. He switched from Bauer to Warrior, eh? Yeah. Yeah. But you know what I'm proud of him for? Is he was his first few years when he went into the league, he was getting a lot of points running the power play and stuff. He's doing a really, really, really good job on the defensive side now.
Yeah,
like, not that he didn't before, but it's like that's his like he shuts down now. It's not so they got Montour and someone else kind of taking over the power play, and I think he gets the second part of the power play. But he does a really, really good job being like heavier and really battling, blocking shots, getting pucks out, and
which makes sense.
Yeah, no,
like
for
big,
sure,
lanky body. Like,
yeah, but my point to that is he was first overall. Like you could have a misconstrued thing of yourself, right? And I think he's a better defenseman now than he was when he won the Calder.
Yeah,
yeah.
So for a guy like that, my point of that little spiel is just, okay, so what's the difference? And it's not the individual skills, and that's what people need to understand. It's like it's not the individual skill in isolation. If you have the best shot, that doesn't mean you're going to be a pro. If you're the fastest skater, that doesn't mean you're going to be a pro. If you're whatever, fill in the blank, that isn't what the difference is often, right? Now, I wanted to tell another story about one of our guys. They were out. This is a guy that's going to be a Division I player, right? And he was talking about his year, and he was not grasping the team concept when he was talking to you. So why don't you talk a little bit about kind of that dialogue, and then why this is just like a common thing, and then I'll go back to the article.
So we had a player sitting there, came back, he's he's a D1 player and stuff. How was your season? I said, yeah, it was good, but like it was good in the beginning because I was able to play the way I like to play, but like once the season went on, the coach kind of shut things down and said, this is how everyone's got to play, getting the puck deep, finish hits, all that kind of stuff. And he's heard this before from his coach last year.
And from you.
And from me.
And from me.
Yeah. That's how you have to play, like individual. Like you can't be on your own page, right? You just can't. So at the season, his ice time was going down, and he had a hard time with that. And he, because he would like to be on a power play and do his thing, and he liked to go in a 2-on-1 and do it his way. And he would kind of argue with the coach or always give a reason why. Yeah, push back. Yeah, but and it's like, yeah, but at some point that's gonna fall short because the team needs to play a team game. So when you choose to be individual, that's what's going to happen. You're not going to get your ice time. And to me, it catches up to you. If you continue to decide that you're going to be bigger than the team, or you're going to do it your way, or you're going to skill it to death, eventually it's going to catch up to you. Like a coach is going to say, well, you're not playing then. I can't use you anymore because no one knows what you're doing, or it's about you getting points, and that's not what it's about. And if you look at the NHL right now, look at the finals right now. So we're only 2 games in, but McDavid and Draisaitl aren't putting points up. They're 2 possibly best players in the world. Possibly, they're the 2 best players in the world, like 1, 2, or 3, and they can't score on Florida right now. They're trying and they're skilling it, but it's like 1 doesn't beat 5. It does once in a while. But that's going to be a problem. It appears, I'm not saying that they can't win, but it appears like without those guys scoring, the secondary scoring isn't happening, and maybe it will, but those guys are your goal scorers, and Florida's playing a team game and it's shutting them down. You can skate all you want. We're going to knock that puck away, whatever. And they're making it very hard. So the team beats the individual skill every time. Now, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Like Connor McDavid is most likely going to get a point in the next couple games, like at home and all that stuff. There's a good chance. But the point is that if it's a lot easier for 5 guys to defend him than vice versa, right? And it's just so, you know, I know that when you're a parent and a kid, like it's what you teach your kids, really, like that's what that they're gonna get, and that's why I'm always I'm very adamant on explain to your kids, like, don't get so excited about them scoring goals and getting points. Like, it's the greatest thing in the world, but it's more important that they understand the habits of hockey. And that's that forecheck, it's the back check. Like, that's what I'm excited about when I see players. I see effort levels. I see them doing things that away from the puck, like you're back checking, blocking shots, all those little things, supporting pucks, driving the net. Those are the things that are going to um, add up to you being a better hockey player, because it shows you that you care about more than yourself. You're taking care of every part of the ice. You're willing to do things without the glory, and it is fun, by the way. And then everything on top of that is great. Now, having said all that, there is, and we've always said this, is always a time and a place to do the isolated stuff, right? Like if you only work on taking rims off the wall, you're not going to be a very good shooter. Like you need to learn how to shoot, but use it in different situations. But again, you can do shooting drills all day, but if you're not doing it with any resistance, then you're going to shoot a puck and it's going to go off shin pads, or guys are going to knock it away because you haven't had the resistance. So that's why, with Coach what St. Louis is saying there is like isolation drills are fine to understand something and to get reps in. And like I don't have a problem, like say like my kid, for example, if in a week or two, like before he goes to a camp, or before the season starts, if we do once every couple of weeks, where it's like, today, boys, we're going out there, and it's like, I don't want you to lose the puck at all. I want you to just, we'll design some stuff, and you got to do some good weight transfers, put yourself in challenging situations, do it at high speeds, do it with a little bit of pressure. But your job today is not to lose the puck. That's good, right? It's just a stick handling and agility thing, and it's good, but you don't base the training program on that.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of exactly what we're going to with like learning how to play the game. Like playing is not when you have the puck; it's when you don't. Like if you clocked your time.
But it is with the puck. It's like I think what St. Louis might be saying there too. It's like it's mostly without the puck, but when you do have the puck, it's not about putting it through someone's feet and doing the most beautiful move in the world. Yeah, it's about putting the puck in the right place.
Yeah,
it's like you might say dumping the puck, but there's ways to dump the puck and ways not to. There's ways to dump a puck where you get possession. There's ways to dump a puck where you lose possession. So it's like that's the intelligent part of the game.
Well, then, because we see this too a lot, where guys, they're doing unnecessary things on the ice when they have the puck, like they would in a drill. Like I'm thinking of last summer. I remember watching a D. He does drills like this. Did 50 crossovers, like from one side of the ice to the other, going backwards across the blue line. It's like that never happens. That's not a thing. So it's putting extra individual skill things where it doesn't belong because you can't read the play properly. So that's a better way of putting it. Playing the game is when you have the puck, but it's also most of the time when you don't have the puck. So if you clocked your time with the puck during a game, it's not going to be very long. Like maybe you have it for a few minutes a game on your stick, maybe.
No, not maybe. No chance.
Right. So it's like, from that perspective, all these other things like the decision making, the reading the plays, the being in the right spot with and without the puck, you need to know this kind of stuff. It's not just that individual isolation of how well you can do your 10 and 2s and this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So
I've got kids like that, right? Like they're on the ice and like it's just Charlie and I laugh because he's on the ice. Like he plays at a high level. He comes back and he sees kids that are growing up and they're in the cusp of, they're in their draft years or they're getting to almost to junior. Like they got that 1, 2, 3 year gap. And it's like, can you just make a freaking flat pass? Yeah. Everything's got to be sauce. If you do a stick handling drill, or if there's a stick handling piece to it, it's always got to be something extra, and it's okay to have it in your bag. But like, it's always got to be extra. It's always got to be more. It's not just like if we do like something where you overspeed crossovers and stuff like that. It can't be just a crossover. It's got to be a 10 and 2. And it's like, it's fine, but it's like, just work on the basics, man. Just work on the basics. Get really good at that. But then it shows in a game. It shows in their games when they try to do way too much.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back to this. I skipped forward a little bit. So why is there an epidemic, as the Habs coach says? Maybe because in many places we don't preach tactics. Perhaps further down the pyramid, the predominant development model in North America focuses on technical skills. Jason Bukala, do you know who that is? Florida.
He's a scout.
Yes.
Used to be a scout.
He's a director of amateur scouting for Florida for 4 years. Often speaks with young players who aspire to be drafted, and who lists the range of specialists to whom they turn. They tell me that they have a skating coach, a throwing coach, someone who manages their off ice, a dietitian, etc. Les Bukala, who speaks in different media on issues related to recruitment. These are all good things, but I'm not convinced that ultimately creates the most well-rounded athlete. They pick up on certain components. They may stand out in certain aspects of the game, but that doesn't make them well-rounded players, and that's a problem. Bukala says he was invited by the parents of a For Bukala, for example, Bukala says he was invited by the parents of a hopeful. I think there's an error there. Invited by the parents to give a frank evaluation of their boy, who is recognized as having great individual skills. However, he noted the lack of supervision from the coaches, perhaps put under pressure by what Bukala described as alpha families wanting to see results above all, meaning that the boy was left to his own devices, as if he had just been told to jump into the fray and demonstrate his skills as best as possible. But the basics of the game clearly hadn't been taught to him. And then one day, these young people appear in front of a coach like Marty St because they are super elite athletes, but between the 2 years, they are still babies. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, the NHL teams all have small villages to raise their players. They bring them to the National League, says the National League. Says Quebec recruiter Michael Boucher, who's employed by the Vegas Golden Knights. You know him? Okay. Indeed, the specialization tools made available to professional players have multiplied over the past 15 years. We see it in Montreal with a few shepherds who watch over their sheep all over the planet, with a group of specialized coaches led by Adam Nicholas, in addition to mental performance specialists, a psychologist, a dietitian, and a small army of therapists and fitness managers. The corollary of this the corollary of this phenomenon is that minor hockey began to reproduce the kind of supervision found in the NHL. We do like grown-ups. The young people move from one level to the next, perfecting incredible moves, amazing mobility, and dizzying puck handling, but their learning takes place on the fringes of the collective imperatives of a hockey match. Many young players are very well developed skill-wise, but can they create chances on offense with their teammates, create numbers and that sort of thing? Do they learn to position themselves well, to work in the defensive zone, to understand the game well? Asks a recruiter of an Eastern Conference team. Coaches must teach these young players the details and professional way to play when they arrive in the American League or the National League. In the minors, they can carry the puck from one end to the other and score a goal, but they won't have the opportunity to do that in the pros. I don't even know if that's true. I think you can go end to end playing minor pro. I don't even think that's true. Yeah, not very often. So, anyways, reiterating kind of the same point. Something that I noticed with a lot of these kids along the same lines is the desire to be like the end to end guy. The desire to be the guy that can go through everybody and do all that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
And that's great though. Like, of course you want to go end to end. And I think as a player, like when you're young, you should try to do that. Like I do. Like this is like the part about hockey that this is where we make it age appropriate. Or this is where we can teach all these things. Like you would never want to take someone like if you told Connor Bedard or what's his name, Connor McDavid, at a young age, no, I don't want you to skate like that. You got to move the puck and all that kind of stuff. Kyle Wellwood was like that, right? Like his goal as a kid was to only move the puck when he had to. It was a selfish thing to do, but it made him a great player. So anyways, the point is when you're young and you have the ability to skate end to end and score goals and you're 6 years old and 8 years old and 9 years old and 12 years old, it's fine. It really is fine because that could be your skill. That's okay to do. And you should try to want to do that every now and then. But you can integrate the other parts of the game to it because we have to have guys that are transporters of the puck. Right? If you have an OHL team, you watch the OHL and you have a power play that or a team that just doesn't have that guy that can skate it from one end to the blue line and make a play, you're having a hard time getting into the other zone. You have to have someone that can transport the puck. So that skill is great. You should always be working on that skill. If you have ice and youth hockey, it's the time to make mistakes. Go for it. If there's not a pass to make, right? As youth, because it doesn't have to be X's and O's all the time. But as youth, if you can get that end to end or almost end to end, you lose it. It's okay. That's actually okay. It's actually okay. It's when you're doing it and you have 12 different options up the ice, or whatever. But then there's a point where you got to teach the game, and I think that's what he's talking about. So I want to make sure that people understand, like, it's okay to try to score goals. It's okay to be flashy. It's okay to be very offensive minded. It's okay to go at high speeds and stick handle the jock out of people. But it's more important that you do that, but you have all the other habits. So if you're going to go one way, you need to learn how to come back the other way. If you're going to be only go after work hard when you get the puck on your stick to go offensive, then you got to learn how to work that hard defensively, right? And if you understand that part, then you're okay. And I think that's important to understand, right? Because I know how people read things and or absorb things, and it's like, oh, you're saying, oh, you shouldn't skate with the puck and be offensive. Someone has to 100%, and everybody should try to, because at the end of the day, the best players in the world do have that ability, right? Because there's really good players, but they know how to play the game within the game. So it's very important that you want to be as good as you can be, and because what that does is, if you're high skilled, high compete, highly defensively orientated, tough, all that stuff, it just gives you more bullets for your gun.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because the same thing, like, people are like just super extreme about things. So for example, let's say we were doing this podcast and it was 1982 and everyone is a meathead. We'd probably be saying, hey, like, you should probably learn how to skate more. And you know what I mean? So my reason of saying that is, it's not that focusing on that stuff is bad. It's just, don't forget the other stuff. That's what I find. It's like, we're forgetting, the epidemic is that we're forgetting the other stuff. Like, we're forgetting the play the game part. So we're good. We got our skating, we got our stick handling, we got our skills. Check. But then there's all these unchecked boxes of these other things. And I remember, again, I'm going to go back to that Hockey Canada thing. I forget the guy's name that was doing the lecture, but he was talking about this evaluation. That's where I got that stat about 157 undrafted players. He also said that what they notice is kids are highly skilled, but they lack grit, and they lack passing. These are the three things: passing, grit, and the ability to accept a role. Those are the three things that they notice as like the biggest unchecked box with incoming young players. And so this was that they did.
And I would add to that, and this is only my own observations, we've said it before. So the first one was passing. I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah.
Actually, Dale was talking with the Flyers, right?
Yeah.
Who I work with, and he was telling one of the NHL scouts that, what I do with his his good group of hockey players. He goes, it's not the pylons.
Yeah,
and all
I heard
that stuff.
this. Yeah,
and he
was
can't
take a pass. Yeah,
says Andy works with them and makes them take hard passes, like hard, where it's like unreasonable hard, because that you need to take passes. Most guys can't collect passes on the backhand when they're moving hard, right? It's under pressure. So that's a skill, man. Number two, you said grit. 1,000%. I watch it every day. I went to the Memorial Cup. I watched the two games that I watched. I was shocked because I thought the Western League had a reputation of being very heavy farm boy stuff. And my kid and I were watching. We go, this might be the softest game I've seen all year. Then we went to another one. It was like, wow, there's no Ryan McGuire out here.
Yeah,
different. And I'm not saying gritty doesn't mean you're killing people, but
I was just gonna say, it's not to say, again, we're just trying to be reasonable. It's not, we're not saying like, wow, there should be 5 fights every 3 seconds in the game.
Yeah. But I finish your hit. Right. Finish your hit every time.
This is again, we're forgetting the other parts of the game. Yeah. Right. We're forgetting that piece. The skill stuff is good, but somebody throw a body, man. Like, somebody throw a hit. That doesn't mean let's bring it back to the jungle days where we're two-handing people in the face. But like, how about a little bit of jam here and there, kind of thing? Yeah. Don't forget about that stuff.
Yeah. So we have grit, passing, and
then ability to accept a role.
Accepting a role. Yeah, that's huge. So like Aaron Ekblad just moved down, accepting a role at that. What?
I was gonna say, like, with these kids that everybody wants to be the top 6 forward, and I would again challenge players, young players aspiring to be in the NHL. If you want to go play for whatever, let's look at Edmonton right now in the finals. whose spot are you taking in the top 6? Right? Are you taking McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman? Like, whose job in the top 6 do you think you actually could be better than in that top 6? It's like, you think you're going to be the 1% of the 1%, which McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins all were, right? All top picks, right? So it's like, this is where the realism has to come into it, where, like I kind of mentioned last week, thinking of it like a job. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna hop right in and take the job of the lead engineer, man. It's like, I need to find a place that works. Maybe I work up to that afterwards, whatever. And if you're the 1% guy, then God bless you, man. You don't have to listen to anything I say. But for the vast, vast, vast majority of players, it's like, that has to be the mindset, right? And that's just not a thing. The kids just aren't thinking about it that way, you know.
And I have a remember I said I had a fourth to that, and I think it's 1,000% clear to me is that with the amount of ice that the kids get, they are not trained to go at hyper speeds or work extra super hard, because the amount of ice, the quantity of ice that they get, you just can't. So I see this on a regular basis. Like, I ask guys to do things at speed or like with high intensity, and the intensity only goes so much until we get to the junior guys, right? Like the guys that have made it to a certain level. But the guys that are in, it seems like the U18 and down, U16 and down, are, you know, they you have to almost coax them to work really, really hard. It's a trick. And then that translates into especially when it becomes a battle drill. Like, there's some groups that I have, like, they don't like the battle part. So if you do one-on-ones, download, they only do, or 2-on-2s and stuff like that. They don't like to have the gritty part. And it's like, well, as you said, to the grit. So you have to do things at a high pace, hard. And I think that pushing those limits are missing as well.
I would agree, because I see that off the ice too. Like, there's I don't know what the term would be, but there's an interplay of like diminishing work ethic, and I don't know if entitlement is the right word, but it's like there's something interplaying of those two words is the way I would describe it. It's like there's a little bit of a lack of work ethic and a little bit of a like cool guy entitlement thing that's going on that I notice. Because, man, like, I'm hard pressed to find, let's say, from 14 to up to 24 that I have in the gym with me. Like, I could probably count the guys where I'm like, I really think you actually work hard. I could probably count them on one hand for across all those age groups, where it's like, I honestly think that you really work hard. Like, I would describe you as working hard, you know, which is, I don't know if like that's just always the case, because a really good work ethic is hard to find, or if it's over time, it seems like there's less kids that are doing that. I don't know, because I guess I haven't really been doing it long enough to have good judgment on that. But that's what I see. It seems like year over year, there's less.
I can make a statement for you. Your standards, just being honest with you, your standards are very high, which is okay, by the way.
Like my personal standards for
your
things?
Personal standards.
Oh, okay.
Your personal standards
I would agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
And so are mine. Like, not in everything.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh. So when you come to because I know you, and well, we're similar in this way. So you come and you design the workouts, right? So your workouts, just so people, this is what you should be getting in life, right? So when you go to a trainer or a skills coach or a hockey coach or someone that anything that you do, you should be expecting that you're getting the best product available. So when someone comes into our gym, what they see is, okay, I've got a 6-week or a 12-week program, and this is what I'm doing today. And it's written out with a purpose, and you've explained everything, and you don't let them get way too deep without being physically prepared and doing exercises properly. And right, there's a time and a place, don't rush or whatever. And then you push when it's necessary. But what they don't see is basically 4 months of you writing the programs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
right?
fair.
They don't
Yeah.
see that. They don't see 4 months of and maybe checking in with someone to say, "What do you think of this? Like, am I on the right track here? Am I missing something?"
A
Right?
lot
With
of
it, right?
resources
You're
being
using your
used there.
resources and stuff, and the hours and hours and hours that go behind that. They just think, okay, so they were doing front squats and okay, whatever. So they come here and and the ones that are really really serious see that and can appreciate it, or they can almost. It's almost like it's they just get they get that, oh, this is real, and they take it seriously, and they're serious about their life, and they look at the tempos, and they understand there's a reason for that, so they follow it to a T. And then the other ones go, okay, well, I don't feel like doing that part today that hard. So guys don't typically push, whereas you're pushing. You push kind of every day in almost everything that you do. So, which is awesome, because that's what I would want if I was trying to make the NHL. I'd want someone that wants to squeeze every ounce of lemon out of juice out of the lemon. A lot of people don't want that. So a lot of people just want a place to go. They want to look cool, like work harder than some people, but not to their personal best. And like the thing with life, the thing with hockey, the thing with coaching, the thing is what we do. It's never actually about competing with anyone else. It really isn't. It's about competing with yourself, and it's be able to come into the gym and know who's the guys that piss around and stay away from them. It's knowing, or on the ice, or going out at night. It's about getting here and putting your game face on and understanding that this is for you. Doesn't matter what anybody else does. If they're stronger, weaker, faster, slower, whatever, it actually doesn't matter. You're competing with yourself every single day. And if you're the only one that knows if you could add 2% of the weight to that squat rack or not. You're the only one that knows. Now, when you look at it and everyone's looking, and it could be a couple of things, right? It's just I couldn't be bothered doing the math to add another 10 pounds on each side, or screw it, it's good enough. And then you get guys that actually care, and they're going to put that extra weight on and push other people. So that's the kind of the standard. So your standards are high, and that's what you get. That's what you get. You get it on the ice. Guys that care about taking the puck or doing the drill to a T, and the other guys that don't care. It's just I'm here. And I don't know if it's about entitlement. It's about it's kind of the word, but it's kind of like it's good enough. I'm here.
It's close, but it's close. It's like I don't know. There's something.
There's something. No, but dude, it's not uncommon. I'm here. Did my part. I'm here.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but you got to do it. Now you got to actually do it.
Yeah, you showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you showed up. But
giving your 100%, like giving your best, close to your absolute best every day. It's not easy.
No, it's actually kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly.
Yeah.
But a couple more pieces here. It's important, especially for young hockey players who arrive in the NHL armed with good physical and technical assets, to understand how to integrate these assets into matches. I would say that also applies for younger kids, not just once you get to the NHL. As a director of hockey development, Adam Nicholas focuses a lot on creating bridges between the individual skills of players and their application in concrete and realistic contexts, and no longer in an abstract or static universe. I think I'm having a hard time because it was translated from French to English.
Yeah.
I'm struggling here.
Yeah.
In other organizations where the imperative is to win, and that's more immediate, this bonding process is much more limited. Young people jump on a moving train. The teams can make adjustments with them, making corrections via video. The real in-depth work on an individual level will end up being done in the summer. Given that tactical development work is often difficult to accomplish outside of a game context, is it any surprise that so many NHL players find friendly leagues to play in during the summer? So that's actually another good element that I try to add for these guys in the summer, is doing the summer league thing, because this is another thing where it's like, just kind of to your point where you're talking before about the programs, there's background stuff that maybe they don't think of, maybe they do. For me, the reason I started doing this league for our older guys, which I would also do with younger guys if I had enough bandwidth to fit that in, but it's like, you're doing your summer shit, and like, let's see how it's going.
Yeah,
right?
it's almost like always doing skills but never applying it.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that when you're doing something, it's like a guy that, a really good example is that if you took Kung Fu, or karate for 17 years and thought you were tough,
You'll fight a
right?
jiu-jitsu guy.
Or like
Yeah.
like a real soft one or whatever.
Yeah.
Or something that you never hit somebody or you never got to apply it, and then you said, you know what, I see these two guys going at it or picking on my friend. I'm going to step in here and straighten them out. And you go in there and you put the dukes up like this, and you give him a, and then he just walks into you and he punches you in the face and chokes you out, and you go, what happened?
Yeah.
You spent 17 years thinking you knew something, but you didn't apply.
Yeah.
You can't apply it anywhere.
Yeah.
So like maybe in 6 months, or if they in the karate school, if they applied like an actual fight once a week, you could sit there and say, oh, this works or it doesn't.
Precisely.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you got to apply your skills.
Yeah. So on that note, this is why for me, there's always like a little bit of a purpose for everything. So one example is like for fitness testing. Okay. So a lot of off-ice programs that you go to, they'll do some form of fitness testing for their guys to gauge improvement. And I've done that in the past, and I never really like doing it because I don't have good technology for measuring. So if I do a long jump, I can get a number. If I do some kind of test on the assault bike, I can get a number. If I do my timed runs, I can get a number. But because of a variety of factors, I don't know how accurately I'm measuring because I don't have good technology to do that. I don't have the devices. I don't have that kind of stuff. So instead of that, I like having this league game where it's like an opportunity for them to feel it in an actual situation that they need it in, you know, as opposed to, you know, a track athlete or a guy that does high jump where measuring your high jump directly relates to your high jump, you know? So for these guys, rather than doing my once a month doing a fitness test where I can't really accurately get numbers for them, I'd rather be like, hey, here's a playground of a game simulation that you can go see. How do you feel? Do your feet feel quick? Do you feel light? Do you feel like you're bagged? Do you feel like you're performing well? And then you can also, you're measuring your gym performance, but then you can also measure, how's my skill work going? Do I feel like I have good touch on the puck? Do I feel like I can like work pucks off the wall well? Like, you have an opportunity to get it in a real situation. And so that's why I like integrating that element, so that exactly to the point of in this article, it's like they're getting actual contextualized experience to try out what they're working on through their off season. Whether they recognize that that's what it is or not is on the players, you know, but that is what it is. So when I do it on a Friday afternoon when they go to play, if they just say, oh yeah, like I'm just going to get a scrimmage game in, fine, it can be that. If you say, hey, I'm going to pay attention to how I feel on the ice today to see how my off season's going, then it can be that. And that's up to you. Again, we talked about this last week about how the resource is there. It's up to you to use it. You can use it one way or the other. But my point is I'm giving them an opportunity to get that game feel, like apply their stuff to the game situation. You know, are the box jumps I'm doing translating to me feeling like I have better knee drives on the ice? There's one example. You know, is my pucks off the wall that I did during my skill work through June, am I starting to feel that a little bit better when I'm on the ice? There's an opportunity there where you can do that thing where it's not just an isolated skill, which is again contributing to the issue that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Anything to add on that? I got a little baby piece left, and then more than a baby piece. Let me just skim through, and then we'll shut her down here. The need for specialization among increasingly younger hockey players is a trend observed throughout North America. I see kids who are on the ice 6 days a week working with coaches and skill specialists, said Panthers veteran Kyle Okposo, whose 8-year-old son plays hockey. The way these kids skate and the skills they develop, I can't do any of that kind of thing. But I know how to play, and that's something you have to learn. You can have all the skills in the world, but if you can't play within the structure of a match, you're going to struggle. Young people still have to learn this. It's something that's more important once you get to the NHL than simply the development of assets. The more flashy individual skills allowed some to stand out and attract the interest of the teams. We will agree it is neither a sustained forecheck, nor good defensive positioning, nor a well-placed stick to intercept a pack that is, nor a well-placed stick to intercept a pass that is making the rounds on social media and will capture the imagination. What ends up on YouTube are the pucks brought back to the skate. In English, that's a toe drag. And all those, all the fancy stuff. And all those who score Michigan-type goals. They all score magnificent goals, and it's great because it's brought a new audience to our sport. It's phenomenal. But at the end of the day, you still have to win hockey games, and winning hockey games requires forming the best team. I don't see the same enthusiasm or the same desire to do these things because each player focuses on their skills. It's more like, look what I can do. If hockey players learned the notions of perseverance, sacrifice, and getting back up after a mistake at a younger age, they'd be better equipped later to use their skills wisely. But for now, the opposite is happening. We first develop the player in isolation, and he learns that later, sometimes much later, on how to play with others. So I think I'm gonna I think everyone kind of gets the gist. This last little piece just talking about the look what I can do skill stuff that we've already been talking about. So it's a good article if you guys care to read it. Again, the title of it is When Individual Hockey Skills Become an Epidemic. And I think it is in French. I had to translate it to English, hence my struggling to read a little bit because I don't know if it translated that cleanly. But you guys can check that out. There's a little bit more to it. But it was just kind of a good article talking about a lot of these same themes that we're talking about today. So I thought it was pretty good. You got anything you want to wrap up on?
Yeah, just like, okay, so just to put a bow on it, the hard part when I think, I'm not speaking for me, I'm speaking for coaches, I'm speaking for in general, like, it is a very frustrating thing for a coach to, like, you always, like, as a player, this is my advice, is when you're playing the game, you have a coach and you have an organization that you're representing and players that you're playing on a team with. And if you can just look outside yourself, and this is where parents can be helpful, and this is where your village, as they said in that article, is your village can be helpful, is always to understand that team first. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. It's about yourself. It's like, but it's not. And it's one of those things, is higher up, the higher that you go, the more important that the team is. Being selfless, playing for a team, being a team guy, playing a role, doing things right. That's the most important thing. So the hard thing that coaches and or someone like myself that has a skills camp, or that is considered a skills coach or developing of hockey players, the hardest thing with that is to not be flashy. And I don't mean that's what I want to be. Like that's a good point, the hardest thing for me right now that I get frustrated, it's almost like I almost want to quit sometimes. Because we talked about it yesterday. It's like, okay, here's an example. So we had someone talking, like, so Dale was telling me he was talking to a dad who his son is 7. And he's so impressed by someone taught him how to do a punch turn in hockey. So if you would have said punch turn 5 years ago, everybody looked at you and said, what's a punch turn? Because I didn't know what it was. But what it is, it's a fancy way, because this is what skills guys do too now. Also do now. It's like you can't just turn anymore. You can't just skate. You're either on your edges, or you're doing punch turns, or you're doing weight transfers. It's like nothing is just hockey.
Nothing is simple. Nothing.
So the better words that you use, the fancier you are, and the fancier that you can sound, he must be awesome. Where they just took a course, he learned something, whatever, and they say all these things. But let's go back to the original statement. The father of a 7-year-old was so impressed that his kid was learning a punch turn, and he said that he was telling Dale, he was like, "There's 5 steps to it." It's like, okay, so let's go back 7. Here's 5 steps to doing a punch turn, which basically all it is a hard, fast, tight turn with a little bit of stick handling in it, right? Like, but that's not the thing that kid needs at 7 years old. Because if he goes and plays the game and you do all kinds of drills, or you play these competition games, he just goes and plays, by default, he's going to use his fancy word, edges. He's going to weight transfer, or he's not, or he's going to learn that at some point, and he's going to do a punch turn, if that's what you want to call it. He's going to have to turn fast at some point. But to isolate, as Marty St. says, to isolate the punch turn at 7, well, you're backwards, dude. It's not what needs to be learned. Just in fact, at 7 or 8 years old, it's like just whatever drill. Like, I don't mean to minimize it, but whatever drill is a drill. So it's hard for someone like me, who, or not like me, like people that train are trying to like be like do the right things. If you're not doing something like that, the parents are sitting there going, "Oh wow, like, oh, look at all the obstacles, look at this, like you could do this, look at all fancy," but you're doing tips, and I wouldn't say that's what you're doing for 7-year-olds, but you're doing things that are actually game applicable, or like moving into space to get open, or calling for, like, whatever the things are that we were doing to make a kid actually better. It doesn't sell. The only reason it sells for me is because I've already had these kids for so long, and we've got so many people that have succeeded that our system actually works. But these other people go out there, it's like, because you have to sell something, right? So it's very hard. So these coaches, like I almost basically cringe now when I hear someone's a skills coach. Like it almost makes me like, oh God, here we go. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like saying I'm a life coach. It's like, oh, just shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth, you're a life coach.
That's
Who are
what-
you
that's-
lifing?
Yeah, that's what.
Who are
That's
you
what for me.
lifing, man? If you, anyways, I think when it's an uphill battle for coaches and stuff. You got to get these kids, and then the other side of it, I think that the coaches have to deal with is most skills coaches or people that you're paying aren't going to tell you the truth most of the time, and that's not good. You're not good enough. You need to get better. Usually they're wiping their ass and kissing their ass and telling them how great they are, and because if there's a risk of me telling you something opposite. The risk is you don't pay my mortgage anymore, right? So it's like you got to be careful of these people. I don't mean to. Not everybody's like this, right? But it's just the truth. So like, that's why I find it very funny, and I cringe a lot of times. It's like, people ask for advice, and then I give them, we give them the truth, or we don't necessarily say you're shit, you can't play anywhere. That's not what we say. We'll say like, you got a long way to go.
We give them honesty.
Honestly,
Yeah.
you give good feedback because anybody can make it, just not everybody will, right? So, anyways, that's the thing, and I think when coaches get these kids, it's like, not only are you taking someone that has been and the family being so self-absorbed into that person's singular development. So you got to deal with that. You got to deal with maybe a little bit of entitledness, and then the lack of awareness of actually how the team game goes and being a team player and all those things. It adds up to it. Like, it's hard now. It's hard to coach a kid. Whereas I think the kid. So this is my last statement on that, is that as a parent and coaches, if you can really hone in on the team game, being a team player, and understanding like the concepts of the game of hockey as opposed to the individual skill, although we all need the individual skill. But if you learn how to have the grit and to do the basics, the foundations well, then you can do everything else. So if your foundations as a forward, let's say, is you're really, really hard on forechecks, you go to the net well, you back check through the middle really hard, and you're willing to work hard in your defensive zone. If you're willing to do that, then and you really do that as your foundation, then now all the other stuff makes sense. It's the same as a defenseman, right? If you're willing to, work on closing gaps and work on being physical, get your stick on puck, passing the puck up to the appropriate places, jumping up in the rush, coming back hard. Like if you do all those things as your foundation, that's all good. Now you can and then try to understand the game, puck placement, and all that stuff as you get older. Then you're helping your coaches later. You don't have to teach you like, no, you selfish bastard, right? No, they understand the game a little bit more, and I think you have a little bit more success. And it's hard. Listen, like my last thing, it's hard because obviously my son is not. Does not resemble Connor McDavid in any way, shape, or form, right? He's heavy, meat and potatoes. Yeah. And sometimes meat and potatoes doesn't give you on the power play. Sometimes it does. Sometimes meat and potatoes, you sit there, you go, sometimes I wish, or sometimes the skill guy or the meat and potatoes doesn't get you the glory, but you certainly are a good hockey player. And they stick out like a sore thumb when you see them. So, like last, but for another example, would be like you take a kid like Jet Lachenko. He's very, very high skilled, very, very high skilled. Electrifying sometimes, bringing out your seats with some of the stuff that he does. But the beautiful thing that he does, he is a team guy. He finishes hits, he forechecks, back checks, does the basics. So doing the basics really well, and then having that really high end skill, that makes him an attractive hockey player. That's the end of my story.
For sure. Good little rant to end it off here. I could keep talking, but we have to stop to do a workout now. So not gonna carry on any longer. So we'll see you guys next week.